Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Another week. Here we are, Thursday morning. It's or Thursday afternoon, whatever whatever time you listen to this. It's always funny because when you record it, you never really think about, people aren't necessarily listening to it on the morning that you publish it. So hopefully everybody's having a great week. And a lot going on in golf. But before we get into today's episode, just want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X golf balls. So we all have different ability levels and goals, but one thing we share is a desire to bring out our best every time we tee it up. And it starts with choosing the golf ball you can trust. The Pro V1 is the best combination of speed, spin, feel in the game. And the X gives you a higher flight and firmer feel. Both deliver longer distance, consistent flight, soft feel, and all-important drop and stop greenside control. So whether you're Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, or Nelly Korda competing at the game's highest levels, or simply striving to be the best you can be, tee up a Pro V1 or Pro V1X and always bring your best. So there you go, new Pro V1, Pro V1X. But I say I've been a big fan of the Pro V1. I played both for a while. I played kind of both over the years. Or even over the last 2 years, I've kind of played both. But I like both. I like the Pro V1. I just like that feel. But like I said, I played a little of both. I played the Pro V1X for a while when I was needing some extra height, and it definitely helped out with that. So it's, new week. A lot going on. A lot of crazy stuff going on in golf. I'm not even getting into any of the Phil stuff and all that because I'm a big Phil fan. I mean, I like Phil a lot. I've met him once. Not that, that turns us into best friends or anything like that, but he was extremely respectful and nice to me. So it's just kind of crazy to see everything going on there. But, hopefully it all works out the way it should. But it's a wild time. So, yeah, we've got a lot of golf stuff going on. I'm still – the downside, man, is that we get so close to having, really warm, nice weather here. And then it's a day or two of it. And it's during the middle of the week. It's Wednesday or, whatever. I think this week it was Monday and, Tuesday. Super warm, all that, especially when I have work to do. And then as soon as we get to the weekend, it's bitter cold. And it just, the golf gods are just not smiling on me yet in terms of getting to, good range sessions and all that. So unfortunately, I don't have, like this week, it might warm up a little bit. I might, supposed to be mid-30s on Saturday and Sunday, so, but today's going to be 29. But I think earlier in the week it was 40-something, almost 50. So anyway, it's still been a struggle, and I know I did my little Q&A on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, at Club Junkie Pod, I try to do once a week, usually Wednesday or Thursday. I try to do a Q&A session where you go into the stories, you can ask questions. I try to answer everything that I get. And we did one yesterday, and I got a lot of questions about have you fixed your launch monitors yet? Are they working with the cold weather? And no, I have not figured it out yet. And unfortunately, I think actually right now I need to get out to the range again because all the snow is pretty much gone. It rained, it was warm enough, and as long as I don't get a ton of snow today, I think that may help with the whole radar thing. But we'll see. But no, I have not figured out my issues yet with that, which is a bummer. But, what can you do? I guess I just got to wait for warmer weather or not live in a state that tries to kill you with hypothermia. But it's, last weekend I didn't get out and hit anything just because I went to the northern part of the state, which, if you're familiar with Michigan, the northern part of the state is quite beautiful. I have a family member who had a family has a place up there, had a good time hanging out, going to some, breweries, cider places, whatever. But it was a good time. So I went up there, hung out for the weekend, just wanted to get away, get out of the house, look at 4 different walls than my own. And now here I am. And it's interesting. So the first thing I'll talk about today, which is something that I think I brought up a long time ago. And the funny thing is, to be honest, it's something that I was kind of thinking about when these wedges came into the office. And the funny thing is, so it's knocked over the Pro V1s. So it's the Cleveland RTX ZipCore Full-Face, and The full-face wedges are wedges, of course, with full grooves across the face. So they go from heel to toe, bottom to top. There's no sectioned off, portion on the toe that doesn't have any grooves. Everything has grooves on it. And I've been playing. I've played a handful of, full-face grooved wedges over the years. I grabbed myself a PM grind, the original one when it came out. And mostly I played it in lob wedges, so I played it in 58s and 60s over the years. And I think the first one I put in the bag was the original Mickelson PM grind. I put that in, had a 60. I think I bent it to 62, so I could just hit shots. I didn't have to open the face or anything like that. I could just literally hit shots with it, square faced, and not have to manipulate the face and just take kind of one variable out of the swing. And I pretty much used it for shots where I was short-sighted and needed to get the ball up and stop quick. And I didn't really use it anything close to full shots or anything like that. And my 60 is still not a full shot club. Like I don't take full shots with it. I tend to get steep with it, like everything I have, and full shots don't work well. So, but I've been playing the Cleveland RTX ZipCore, the raw version. These are the black satins that just came out a little bit ago. But I was playing the Tour Rack Raw pretty much all last year in my 60, which was a 58.9. I bent it to 60, and I played it pretty much all year, or whenever it came out. Might have been like the last half of the year, something like that. But really enjoyed it. I think there's something to be said, at least for me, in a lob wedge, having full grooves across the face and having more, a higher toe, more mass up there, more real estate. Because, for me, that club is a partial shot, a high lofted shot. I open the face a little bit. And my miss is typically out on the toe for, most of my wedges. And, I found success with that thing of when you do miss it high on the toe on that wedge, you do get a little more spin, you get a little more control, and the distance doesn't quite drop as quickly as a standard wedge. So I've been playing that for a while, and like I said, really liked it. I've gone back, I've played some standard wedges, had some stuff in the bag that was standard, and then, I've always gone back a little bit. But the RTX Full-Face was been really good. I really enjoyed it. I think the RTX ZipCore stuff spins exceptionally well. The feel on it's pretty darn good. It's pretty soft, and overall launch on them is a little higher, but they like I said, the control seems to be really good. The only thing for me is that in the sand wedge, I found like the Vokey D grind. I think I was. It was a little more playable for me. I think I had just slightly better turf interaction with the Vokey D grind, which is why I kind of didn't play the sand wedge version or the sand wedge in the RTX ZipCore. But like I said, really like the wedges. I think they're really phenomenal. If I wasn't playing the Vokeys, I'd probably play those. But right now it's kind of it's a tight race between this year. I just hit the SM9 and they're extremely soft. I really like them. So maybe another Vokey year, but I really like the MG3s too. The TaylorMade MG3s are really, really good. But anyway, so I was playing the 58, the lob wedge in the RTX Full-Face, and these black satins came out, and they sent in a set of them. So they sent in a 50, a 54, and a 58. And I've always kind of thought, because I think TaylorMade did it with a high toe. I think Callaway's new Full-Face, all that, they make them in gap wedges, and I've always kind of wondered why would you want a Full-Face gap wedge? Like, it just because to be 100% honest, they don't look amazing. They're not the pure shape that you're used to. You don't set them down and go, wow, those are beautiful. They're kind of funky looking. The toes are very square, which is usually my number one thing. The toes are a little square. They got that really high toe. It's usually kind of looks sharp when you look down on it. And then it's just different to look at a full face full of grooves. So in terms of looking at them, they're definitely not, I don't think, too many people's favorites. But I always kind of wondered, because typically with these higher toed shapes and things like that, they're sometimes a little harder to square up on full shots. And I remember with my PM grind, that was, that was, I guess, one small reason why I never hit full shots, was that the way it was shaped, it was kind of hard to line up. You never knew if it was like fully square, or if it was a little shut, a little open, and that was just always a little bit of a struggle for me. So, but anyway, these came in, and I kept looking at the 50, and I said, man, it doesn't look great. And, who would ever put a 50 in the bag in this? I understand the 54, I understand the 58. Excuse me, sand and lob wedges, I get it. Just don't get the gap wedge. But then as I was hitting balls in the range this winter and looking at the garbage, which is my swing, and it's just as all you know, I tend to come over the top, shut face, hit down on it, and I tend to hit a lot of stuff off the toe right now, especially irons and wedges where I get get the steepest the most. So I kind of looked at it and I said, okay, and I had a range session where I was hitting like one of my gap wedges. I don't remember if it was the MG3 or my Vokey or whatever. And I had shots that were like borderline just staying in the grooved area. Like they were, there was one or two maybe in the center, but stuff was starting to slide out. And I was like, you know what? I wonder, and it kind of thought like, man, I'm starting to almost miss the grooves, with swings that are this poor. And, those shots are going to come off and be pretty poor shots on the course if that, was the shot I hit. So I said, I wonder if, taking a look, like maybe this is where that full phase groove comes into play. Like maybe that's, this could be a decent wedge for me in terms of hitting it, hitting it off the toe and things like that. I mean, my 50, I'm never going to, or very, very rarely would like hit a shot where I'd like open the face and, and hit that type of shot. I'll just grab sand wedge. But I think, the only time that would be the case would be if I needed to hit it high and I still need to hit it, 100 yards, because my sand wedge for me doesn't go, it's not a 100-yard club. It's like 80 to 85 at max. So if there was a shot where it was like 100 yards and I really needed to get it like up over a tree, okay, maybe I'd take, a shot with this and open the face. But so anyway, so I took it out and was hitting this next to my MG3 gap wedge just to see, the differences. And it was interesting because both clubs, I mean, I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know if you'll be able to see kind of my strike pattern, which was actually pretty good that day, but it was a little off out on the toe. Like you can see, like all my shots were, just slightly outside on the toe, nothing too crazy, but again, out on the toe a little bit. And found that it did look like there was a difference. I was kind of using my launch monitors when they worked, and for shots that I was hitting with the full face compared to not, I did see a little bit more consistency in terms of ball flight. Like the spin numbers didn't change near as much. Excuse me. In terms of overall spin, didn't change near as much. There was definitely less variation there, and the ball flight, the same thing. The ball flight tended to be overall consistently a little higher. I mean, hitting it out there, hitting a little low on the face, all that. I mean, it definitely, and part of it maybe is wedge design because of where the mass is and all that. But I think having, a little more mass higher and having extra grooves, I wasn't hitting it any farther. I wasn't doing it, but it was just those misses were definitely a little more consistent. The numbers just kind of stayed closer together there. Like I said, in terms of spin, in terms of launch, all that with this full face ended up being closer to when you hit it in the center, or in my case, when you hit it into closer to center contact. But it was pretty interesting. I hit a lot of really good shots with it. I kind of basically aimed at a flag out there that was basically 100 yards, and for me, for a gap wedge is a little longer. It's like a 110-yard club full swing. But like this 100-yard flag out there, and I was just basically hitting shots, and I don't know how many of each I hit, but it was just kind of going back, hit a couple with this, hit a couple with the MG3, and just kind of going back and forth. And in terms of consistency, I was tighter, dispersion-wise, with this RTX, and it was more consistent to getting it to the flag, getting it to that target. And like I said, when you missed it a little bit out on that toe, it held a little more spin. It stayed up, the launch stayed a little closer, and the distance was a little tighter. And it was, I guess I wasn't necessarily shocked, but it definitely has, it definitely performed better than I thought it would. I thought maybe it would hold a little more spin. That'd be about it, whatever. But overall, it really did work well. I was pretty impressed with how well I hit this in a 50. And in terms of lining it up, I think this has a little more traditional shape. The leading edge isn't near as rounded as, say, like a Phil Mickelson grind or some of like the higher lofted high toes. But this one here has a really good, it has a decent shape to it in terms of the flow from hosel into leading edge, and it was fine to square up. I was hitting it, at the target fine. If anything, I maybe was, kind of hitting things just right of target, but it was pretty darn close. I mean, yes, the gap wedge and the mill grind 3, for sure. You set that down. I mean, it looks traditional. It's easy, super easy to line up. The biggest question on this is going to be, in terms of gaming it, I'm definitely going to put it in the bag to play some rounds with it, because it just showed some promise, and I might put the whole set in the bag just to try it out, and maybe go to a 50, 54, 58 kind of setup. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I've been typically playing 56s for so long, and then 60s, so I've pretty much been playing 50, 56, 60, and this maybe I'll try the 54, 58. I mean, there's always the talk that I think Tursky and I had a couple weeks ago, where guys like Roger Cleveland and all that, and Bob Vokey are like, there's a lot of amateurs who shouldn't have a 60 degree in the bag, and maybe I'm one of those people. What I can do with a 58 is probably more consistent and all that. So maybe I'll try a 50, 54, 58 again. I played it before years ago, and it was fine. It was just, I think the only thing different was that, I don't hit a super high ball, and I moved to the 56 and 60 just to get a little more height and get balls to stop on the green. So, but this thing here launched actually pretty high and went pretty good. I would say overall, like full shot, distance, the MG3, this was a little shorter. And again, we're hitting, I'm hitting balls in 17-degree weather. So it there's really no judgment in terms of carry distance yet. And it's not on grass yet. So we still have that to work with. But right now the MG3 is still a little, it was a couple yards longer when hit well. Just I think because it flew just a little bit flatter, just had a little lower apex than this RTX ZipCore. But no, the other thing too will be turf interaction, and I think my gap wedge in that MG3 I think is 12 degrees of bounce. I think it's 12. This says 9 on it, but when you set it up and actually look at the sole, like, if you set it up and just kind of look, it looks way more than 9. So I'm thinking this is probably a very generous 9 in terms of bounce. So I at first I was kind of, I wouldn't say worried, but I was just kind of like, all right, well, when I start off the season and things are super soft because everything's wet up here, we'll have a little digging competition. But definitely, I don't think it's going to be the case. I think with this sole, I think it's got enough bounce to it, even though it's not marked as more bounce. I think it definitely has more bounce than it says. And then it's interesting because it's got like almost a little C grind, grind to it. It's got a little trailing edge relief, a little more relief in the toe and the heel. So I guess in theory you could open this up a little bit and play little chip shots and things like that with it, which for my gap wedge I typically do. I've been using that and my pitching wedge a lot more in terms of little chip shots around the green, little pitch shots. I've been using definitely those two more, just because it just, anything with a ton of loft on it, like a 56 and 60, it just takes more practice and more time to make sure that you hit consistent shots, and I just don't put in that much time. So especially when like league and all that starts up. My wife, again, is an amazing woman, probably the most amazing woman in the world, and she allows me to play as much golf as I want. But when the season's here, going to the range is not as easy when, so she is stuck at home with a 2-year-old running around all day. So I totally get that. But no, it'll be interesting. I definitely want to take this out and play more. Like I said, the feel of it was really good. It was, not quite as soft as SM9, but it still had a good soft feel to it. Maybe just a touch more click, just a hair firmer, but not harsh or bad by any means. So I think it's something where, if you're a player who you hit a lot of shots off the toe, like I said, for me, it's just coming down steep with a shut face and doing that and hitting a lot of, shots, like I said, off the toe. There might be something to this in terms of being able to get a little more consistency and have a little more carry and all that to your target with a full face wedge. And it may work in the 50s. So we're gonna see. And like I said, I definitely want to try the sand wedge and the lob wedge as well. Like I said, the lob wedge I've been doing forever, but the sand wedge, it'll be interesting to see how that works also. But and I think the sand wedge is no problem for me. Sand wedge is not a full shot club for me. I don't set up and swing that thing full hardly ever. It's pretty much, like I said, 80 to 85 yards, which is kind of that, 3/4-ish swing, a little more than that maybe, but I never really try to get it to full. So even that one there, in terms of having, the full grooves and all that, I don't think squaring it up and all that is going to be a big deal. And having, again, that little bit of real estate on the toe to hit it, especially out of like bunker shots and things like that, where you tend to hit it a little off the toe and higher, could definitely be a benefit as well. So anyway, big fan of the 50 so far. I thought it worked really well. Am I going to be, like I said, is it going to go right in the bag? Maybe not at the moment. I still want to get it on grass because everything I do in the dome is great and everything, but until you get it on course, and it's the only ball, there's not 100 balls in the bucket. It's the only ball. That's when it actually matters, and that's when you'll actually know, is this working? Because, when you're under the gun and have to hit a shot, and not that I'm playing for, big money or anything like that, but it's just the fact that you're trying to put a decent score together, and when you only have one ball and it's off turf and all that, a little different than hitting it off a mat, when you have 100 other balls and everything at the range. So we'll see how it goes there, but right now I'm pretty impressed with it. I think it could have potential to go in the bag, and if you're somebody who's kind of struggling with some wedge play, and like I said, your contact is kind of on the toe and all that, and instead of fixing it, you want to just find a club that may help you get through. You know what? RTX ZipCore Full-Face could give you a little Band-Aid over it. I know one of the questions when I was on Instagram was, why are we buying new clubs when we still can't hit the ball well? And I was like, to me, it's not fun taking lessons. It's fun hitting new clubs. It's not fun taking lessons and grinding on my game. So here's where we are, but I do need to fix the game. The game is struggling right now. It'll be interesting. It's just weird. Like I was looking, like I'll go to a media event. Like I went out to the Ventus TR launch, and we were hitting in the range, off grass, all that. I was hitting driver really well, or at least fairly consistent. Just hitting balls in the range, hitting good iron shots, all that off grass, and then I get to the mats here, and it's like I forget what to do. It's just a weird thing that I think my brain just, flicks a switch that I want to get onto a mat. I swing hard. I swing, down and steep and everything. It's just like my whole game kind of changes when, when I'm hitting off turf or, a mat. And I think it's because you can't take like a big old monster divot and embarrass yourself flinging it down the range. So I think, my tempo, all that speeds up. But it's definitely not great. But anyway, RTX RTX Full-Face, or RTX ZipCore Full-Face, really solid. I really like it. I think it's going to be a really solid wedge line. So these came in, and Cleveland sent them to us super early for photos and stuff like that. And I almost pre-embargo, like a couple days before embargo, maybe a week, almost posted them. Because I was going to post a thing that says, like, how do you feel about a full face, full groove, gap wedge? And I was going to post a big thing about it, and I almost posted them early. So thankfully I didn't, and I just made it for whatever reason. I was about to hit public, or hit post or whatever on Instagram, and then I was like, well, I should really check and see what the date is on this, and thankfully I did, because that would have been a bad thing. But anyway, I saved myself there. So anyway, RTX ZipCore Full-Face, definitely worth trying. So I've kind of like, I wouldn't say I've run out of clubs yet to hit. I've got some putters to work on, and things like that, and I just need to get a little more time with them. So I have a handful of things that I still need to hit. I have a handful of things coming that should be here shortly to test. I've got another launch monitor to test that should be coming either tomorrow or late next, or early next week. So I should be able to test the new Bushnell launch monitor, which hopefully with the camera system is based on. maybe the cold weather doesn't affect it as much. We'll see. But I've got that to try out. So just another, launch monitor to try at the more affordable price levels. So the other question I get a lot on Instagram is kind of, what's the best this, what, best fairway, best whatever. And there is no really best because everybody's going to swing everything differently. Everybody's going to hit everything differently. There's no best that you can say. You can't just say this is the best club at this spot and that's it. There's just no definitive way to do it because that's why there's tons of different clubs. Because if there was one that was the best, everybody could pack up shop and go home because everybody would buy the one that's the best. So there's not. So everybody kind of has their own best in terms of what they hit best and what they don't. But I get that question a lot of like what's what's your favorite thing or what's the best one. So I'll go in terms of driver. I'll really kind of quickly because this show's gonna be a little shorter. But I'll go through and just kind of say my top 3 drivers right now. Because, like I said, people keep asking, what's in the bag and all that. My bag is far, far, far from set, so we've got a long way to go with that. On one note, I think I am going to finally make the switch to all fit. In terms of, I've been using Club Connects forever, and basically, so Club Connects, if you don't know, is basically a universal system where you have a tip that goes on every shaft, and then there's a sleeve that goes into the driver. And you can basically use any shaft with any driver head. And it just kind of replaces the adapter that is in, your current driver. And I've been using Club Connect's UniFit for a long time. I liked it. It worked pretty well. You lose a little bit of the adjustability that you have with OEM tips. So like some OEM tips will go up 2 degrees or down 2 degrees, or, you can change, 2 degrees flat, 2 degrees, whatever. Their system's kind of limited to 1 degree. You can kind of go up 1 degree flat, down 1 degree, but everything, you still have adjustability. It's just about 1 degree. But it worked really well, and I've been, like I said, using it for years. But I think I'm about to make the switch to all fit. And the reason why, which is sad, is that I have misplaced my TaylorMade driver sleeve. I don't know where it went. I pulled it out. I took it out. And then there's a new screw that goes in to the bottom of the club head, which is no big deal. Took that out because I was giving my Sim 2 Max to my dad, and I misplaced my TaylorMade sleeve, so I don't know where it went. And now it's the one head that I can't now use all my shafts. I can't use because those. I don't have a sleeve. And the downside is that Club Connects and UniFit, Club Connects has gone to a different model where you have to, they've basically gone more towards the fitter side, and you have to have like an account with them and all this stuff in order to purchase the pieces. You can't just go online and buy them like you previously could. So getting another one is not really that easy. So I guess it's time to finally move on. So I'm gonna move over to All Fit, which I've messed around with already before. I think I did a show on All Fit. Well, probably a while ago now. It's probably back in the summer. I did a show on All Fit, but All Fit's very a similar thing. It's basically a universal system that you put a tip that looks very similar to a TaylorMade tip on each shaft, and then each driver has a little sleeve, and then you can basically put in, you can use any shaft with any head, and it's the nice thing about that is that one, they're slightly less expensive in terms of the pieces. The shaft tips I think are about the same. I think they're like $20 each, but I think the driver sleeves are less expensive. I already have all the driver sleeves from my review, and I have a handful of shaft tips. So I'm going to just buy a few more shaft tips. The only downside is that I kind of lose like my whole rack of shafts that I have. I think I had 15 UniFit tips. So I had about like 15 shafts ready to go for Club Connects. I'm going to lose all those. So I'm going to basically have to go start off with new stuff. So basically anything new will convert. I'll just do All Fit, because the difference is that UniFit, the shafts are shorter. So the tip doesn't go as far down in the head. It doesn't install as deep down. So to make the shaft kind of play more normal, you have to tip it between like 3/4 of an inch in order to make it play like a standard adapter in the head. And then you have to butt cut it down to whatever length you play at. And yeah, unfortunately, that means that if you take a shaft from Club Connects and you go over to All Fit, it's going to be tipped 3/4 of an inch and it's going to be like a half inch short. So it doesn't really get me where I want to be. Excuse me, in terms of wanting to do that. So I think from now on, whatever new shafts I get in, and I may reach out for a few favors to some of my the people I know to try to get a couple of my favorite shafts lined up and tipped up and all that. But yeah, I'm going to switch over. So I maybe won't have for a little while. I maybe won't have like every shaft to be able to compare side by side everything, but I'll slowly build that back up. But the All Fit guys are really good too. So if you check out the All Fit system, that's what I think I'm going to be moving to, because yeah, I still want to be able to hit all these heads, with either the same shaft or try out different things. I mean, I want to be able to kind of swap stuff out, and unfortunately with me misplacing that one tip, I lose one of my more popular heads, so that goes away. But anyway, I'm going to make that switch, I think, starting very shortly. I'm going to switch over. I have the Ventus TR. I'm going to have Ventus Blue, a couple other ones that I'll be able to shaft up and use right away. And then, like I said, over the next months, whatever, I will hopefully slowly build back up the shaft collection. So, all right. So anyway, so my top 3 drivers in terms of right now, like if I had to go play right now, what would be the number one club? I think right now would probably be TaylorMade Stealth or Stealth Plus. Right now, almost lost my wedge there. But I think it'd be Stealth Plus. I mean, for whatever reason, the TaylorMade Stealth stuff, for whatever reason, TaylorMade heads the past couple of years, I've just swung really well. And as much as, the Stealth Plus is the less forgiving version, I've been hitting it really well. I've been putting different shafts in there. I've been hitting a lot of TR in that head and just moving it up like one click for a little more loft. But I've just been the most consistent with it. And, in terms of, have I hit maybe a longer drive with something else? Possibly. But in terms of overall consistency and dispersion, it's been tough to really beat the Stealth Plus. So I do have a 10.5 head coming from the My Stealth program, which I'm super excited for. That will be coming sometime shortly, and I actually did it. Instead of going all murdered out black like I did with my Sim 2 Max, I'm going chalk, going a little different. So we're going to go chalk, a little green accent on the bottom, so it'll be interesting to see how that looks. I'm pretty excited for it. But like I said, this Stealth Plus has just been the most consistent. I don't know what it is. It's something about the CG in that head that when I swing it, I just feel comfortable with it. And, throughout the whole swing, I don't know. There's something about it that just feels right. And I've been hitting it the best in terms of the most consistent. So if I had to go play right now, I think Stealth Plus goes in the bag. And like I said, I probably with between Ventus TR right now, I'm gonna try some other things, but yeah, it really has been, like I said, the most consistent driver for me, and at least out on the range. So we'll see if that makes it to the course. And then the next one is actually really kind of a tight race. It really, and it's not surprising when I show these two, but it's a pretty tight race. The number 2 is probably going to be Cobra and the King LTDX. I mean, that has been a really good head. I got fit into that head at the Cobra launch event. I got that driver in, so it's a 10.5 LTDX with the Ventus Blue 6X, and that's what I got fit into, and been having it on the range a little bit, been hitting it really, hitting it well. I didn't hit it I haven't been hitting it as well as I did that day, but again, I think that's more me than anything. I think when I get out onto some grass and for whatever reason can control my tempo a little more, I think I'm going to see a lot more consistency, and it'll be interesting because when I was out on the range hitting that and getting fit compared to Stealth, the misses on the Cobra were just a little bit longer, and they were pretty straight. So that one's going to be really interesting when I get to the course. I'm pretty excited to see how under the gun that performs, because I think it's going to be a really good head. But I've been a big fan of that so far. And like I said, between second and third is super close. So that one there has been really good. Yeah, so it's been solid. So the last one, or my number 3, I guess, in a sense, and again, my 2 and 3 is really close. But the Rogue, the Callaway Rogue ST ST Max LS, and I think I hit the Triple Diamond LS. Was a big fan of that, but I think the Max LS is just a little more forgiving. It's not quite as fade bias, which I hit it left, but I think there's not so much draw to it where you're really fighting the left side all the time and things like that. It really is an easy club to hit, and it seems like the ball speed on the miss hits is really, really good. So I've been hitting a lot of stuff kind of high toe lately, which is interesting because out on grass I tend to early extend and hit things low on the heel. But no, like I said, the off center hits have been really, really good, and I've been pretty surprised on how stable the heads are because I just haven't found a Callaway head that I've hit well since like the original Epic. So, the Rogue ST is definitely, for me, the best driver since then that they've made. And the Max LS, I haven't got enough swings in to truly get down and dirty with it. But I'm definitely gonna hit some more, and have been a big fan of that head. I think for me, it's probably a little better than the Triple Diamond just because it adds just a hair more forgiveness. And like I said, being slightly higher spin, it doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm not a super high spin guy. So, that's been really good. And the sound on it is really, really good. So, those are kind of my top three right now. I do have to say the new Mizuno stuff is really good, really, really forgiving, easy to hit. And, it's been fun kind of hitting everything. But right now, those are kind of my top three. And, I'm pretty excited to get all three of them out on the course. So it'll be hopefully soon. I know it's a little ways away, but hopefully soon as we get closer to March. By April, I should be, hopefully by the end of the month, I'll be out on the course playing some golf. So, but yeah, but that's all I got this week. Hopefully, again, like I said, you guys having a good week and have some golf lined up for this weekend. If you don't, I apologize. Hopefully it'll be there soon. I know, us Northerners are just, chomping at the bit to get on the course. So hopefully soon. But but hopefully that's all you got. If you want, if you have any questions, any comments, anything like that, follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. And hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and we'll chat next week.